Okay, so today we're going to talk about a really important thing, which is schools. Now, I know that one of the important things for you guys, and something which I really, really appreciate, is the fact that many of you have come through recommended from your schools. When I've spoken to you, most of you have told me about how well you identify with your schools, and you seem to be very, very conscious of what role the schools, your schools, high schools have had in your personal development, obviously your academic development too. And that's a really valuable thing. Okay. I'm 59 years old, and a couple of weeks back, I was in London, which is where I grew up. And I was with a few mates, and literally, we could have been sitting there 50 years ago or 45 years ago when we were 14, 15, 16, the same group of six people. And we were in a pub, we was having a few beers and we were having a chat. And it was amazing. I would say four of the six people said, you know, um, the majority of the people I regard as good friends are sitting at this table. So we're saying those friendships which you make at this age and in the last 5 years, I hope they're going to stay with you for life, right? And be appreciative of them, because the chances for making really good friends and forming good friendships diminish, all right, in adulthood, believe me. So let's go on and talk about schools. All right. So, got any questions? Put them in the chat box. We'll discuss them at the end. The first thing, keep in mind our agreement, what you're signing up for, what the schools are signing up for. So the schools are going to offer you a host family, a structured placement, a timetable to work with, help with your Spanish. They will assign a tutor who will be your go-to person at the placement, local information, and above all, goodwill. So your relationship, we tell the schools this, your relationship is not confined to 15 hours a week in exchange for accommodation. There's got to be a little bit more. And wherever possible, I try to form a good relationship with whoever the tutor is or the placement host, so that, you know, I'm getting the extra official information. I'm finding out how you're doing formally and informally. So that's the goodwill. Those are the things where people are going to smile at you, ask you how you're feeling, help you out. If you're not looking too well, that's what we need from the school. So basically, everything which you offer is going to add to the amount of goodwill coming from the school. So what you're going to be offering are 15 hours a week in the classroom. Okay, not 18 hours. 18 hours would be if you were German, which you're not, but it's 15 hours. You're going to be offering your ideas. Okay, I sent you all an idea today, which was absolutely unexpected. And it was a social guide. I wasn't even aware of this. And this is because we made a theatre booking in London for my mum. All right. And on the link to the tickets, there's the social guide, which is basically a visual document saying when you arrive, this is what you will see and this is what you can do. And that is specifically meant for people maybe with learning difficulties or whose first language isn't English, to know exactly where they have to go when they arrive at a specific place. So I think that's a great idea, a fantastic idea, something you can share and do at your placement. Obviously, language, they want you because you speak English. That's the number one thing. Okay, more ideas. Okay, some of those ideas I'll give you again. Again, goodwill. Yep, engagement and a proactive attitude. A proactive attitude means that you propose things, whether it's getting involved with sports, maybe saying, hey, you play rugby. I want to see what's going on as far as rugby goes at school. You have activities, excursions. I'd like to take part in those things. So being proactive and offering yourself to engage. Okay. Okay. If we think about schools, okay, that there are different kinds of volunteer programs, of course. You could go and, save forests or look after animals or help, women only projects in different countries. There are many, many different things. So I'm going to put you into little groups. I want you to discuss just for a moment. I want you to discuss just for a moment 4 questions. Why did you choose a school placement? What did you like best about your high school, your own school? What don't you like about schools? And finally, why do schools want you? So why do schools want a volunteer? Okay, so I'm going to put you into 4 rooms, or 3 rooms, I'm sorry, and ask you to discuss these things for a moment. Okay, are you ready to go into the little rooms and discuss these things? I will post the questions again. So it's going to be Miranda, Oliver, Will, and William, Jasper, Oliver, Sarah, and Will, and then Amy, Johnny, Oliver, and Scarlett. So there's always a Will, a William, and an Oliver everywhere. Okay, so I'll put you into the rooms for the moment and just speak for about 5 minutes, okay, about these things, about your school, about your experience, and really why it is that schools want you to come here. Are you ready? Yes, go into your rooms. Can you see? Ah, good, thank you. You should have a button somewhere which says, yeah, brilliant. Lovely. Recording. That's great. Okay, so tell me, who have we got on my screen? First person on my screen is Sarah. So Sarah, um, what was the best thing about your school, in your opinion?
Uh, Mine would definitely be the social life, I'd say. Because I joined my school in grade 7, so I've known them for a few years, and yeah, just strengthening the friendship bonds and all that. It's definitely the best part.
Mm-hmm. Brilliant. And Will Birchall, what about you? What do you think? What was the best thing about your school?
Yeah, certainly a similar thing to that. And I think the fact that you're, in such close proximity to these people, like for so many years, like you get so familiar and comfortable with everyone in the year level that you can, go off and chat with anyone. And I really like that. Like you become like a community, really.
Good. And who's next? William Pierce. What did you like best about your school?
I would say more so like doing things that you enjoy with people that like you enjoy. because at my school you get to like there's a quite a big range of subjects, so you're getting to like do things that you like, and you know, associate with similar minds. So you just get to, I don't know, spend a lot of time with them, get to know them, and make like good, long lasting connections over like the 5 years for being at high school.
Absolutely. Good. Good. And who's next? Jasper. Jasper. Tell me something you didn't really like.
Probably the fact Ollie was in my class.
All right. Good. Excellent.
No, I'm kidding. Nah. Something I didn't like about school was I know I'm quite a talkative person, and sometimes being a talkative person isn't always the best in school because, you know, it's a place where you have to concentrate sometimes. And so I think that was probably one thing I didn't like about, but I probably should get better at, you know, working with.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's great. That's great. And what about another question? I don't really want to discuss negative things. So I'm not going to ask anybody else what they didn't like because, you know, it might be some very sensitive things. And if you have had a bad experience at your school, this is going to help you in the future. Because if you've had an experience which was because you were a slow developer, because the kind of institution didn't suit you, and maybe you changed, because anything else, because you felt different, because there's any kind of bullying or anything like this will really help you in the future because you will be able to recognize children who are having problems. And I think if you've been through that process at any point, you are instinctively going to feel empathy for children who these things do happen at schools. We know this, all right? So from bad comes good. From bad comes good. Why do Spanish schools want you? What have you got to offer them? Amy, you're number one on my list. Okay, why do schools want you, and what have you got specifically to offer a Spanish school?
I speak English. My culture, I guess. My language and my culture, and yeah, I guess sort of the experiences I've had from growing up in New Zealand and the different lifestyle. Is possibly quite interesting to them. Even the little things that I am it's just everyday life for me is probably quite out there for them, maybe, or very different to their everyday life.
Absolutely. You know, I mean, the day that you come in and you're shouting and singing and dancing because the All Blacks have won, you know, the Rugby World Cup or something like this, and they won't, well, oh, hold on, there's a connection. Let's talk about that today. Absolutely, your culture. Or, you know, one of these little kind of Maori, you know, one of the New Zealand volunteers gave me a gift. It's a small kind of glass Maori ornament. Which has a meaning. It's very beautiful, actually. You know, so to be able to take something in from your culture. Obviously, Australians won't be going in saying we've won the Rugby World Cup, will you? Not this year, anyway. So, you know, but that sort of thing, or saying, well, today is, you know, a particular day, or you might go in to say, hey, you know, I want to talk about where I live. I live in a place called Tasmania. And when you show them a map of Australia, and they'll be pointing, and really we know, we've heard of this cartoon character called the Tasmanian Devil, but we don't know anything else, you know, apart from that about Tasmania. And really interesting for children to understand that within the context of culture, of language, and of geography. Okay. So all those things are things you can offer. Absolutely. Miranda, tell me, what else do you think that you've got which you could offer a school?
I feel like all of us will be older, positive influences on the kids and like relatable and everything.
Do you have any specific gifts or skills?
I do high level maths and science, and I feel like maths is a universal subject, so I can always help out in that sort of area as well as English.
Yeah, could you imagine that, having, you know, whether it's one child or a number of children who specifically, you know, need some kind of maths tuition. And wow, there's Miranda offering to help out in maths class. And that's pretty amazing. You would also see the differences between the way that maths are taught in Spain and the way they're taught in English. I know for a fact that when you divide, you're doing long division, which is obviously a very simple operation. In Spain, they do it a different way. Okay, do you see that the children,
That's so
people?
interesting.
It is. It's interesting. So I watch my wife doing it, and she starts from the bottom and works up to the top, and sort of goes from left to
Oh.
right, where I go the other way round. So anyway, so many things. Absolutely, many things, but definitely culture. Okay, language and yourselves. Okay, let's talk about some stuff which is not going to be too interesting, but we'll go for it quickly. Okay, Spanish schools. Can you see there the different regions of Spain? Each with a different color. So up in the north, we've got Galicia coming across, but the Basque country, the very big kind of dark pink one is Castile and Leon. Okay, and coming down to the east, that's to the right on the eastern coast, which is dark blue, that's Valencia. And then the dark green area at the bottom is Andalusia. And right in the middle, which is light blue, is Madrid. Okay, now Spain is divided up into 17 autonomous, semi-independent regions, similar to the states of Australia. But this also means that there's 17 different curriculum or 17 different study plans. So in each area of Spain, different subjects are given a different importance, amongst them English. So in some places, there's a really strong drive to include English in the classroom, and other places, somewhat less. Okay. It also means that you've got 17 different school calendars. So it means the school vacations are more or less the same, but when it comes to Easter, for example, you might find that some regions have the school holidays before Easter, and so, the week before Easter, and some of them have them the week after Easter. So before you plan any kind of Easter trips alone, with family, or with other volunteers, you have to check with your school. We also have 4 co-official languages, which means in Valencia, which is here, in Catalonia, which is here, in the Basque country, and in Galicia. It means that there are different models of teaching, and sometimes the teaching is done in the local language. This is specifically for you. If you're in Valencia, you're going to have fun, because you'll get to learn Spanish and the Valencian language, which is very similar. It's really just some words which are different. In the Basque country, it's quite different. And so we only have 2 schools which actually have a very strong Basque language bias. And, you know, they're great. They're absolutely fantastic schools. One is in a place called Tolosa. Absolutely beautiful, but it's deep into the mountains, deep into the Basque country. You need to be the sort of person who's going, yeah, I really want this immersion into this culture. But I can absolutely tell you there's a fantastic school and a fantastic place, but people speak a lot of Basque. How much Basque will you learn? Not very much, because this language is completely unlike any other language in the world, literally. The linguists do not know the origin of this language, because it is so different. They use the Roman alphabet, so at least that's good. Okay. All right. So this is what we call the school year. You go September, we've seen that, October. You see next week, the 12th and 13th. Let me make this a little bit bigger for you. If you look at October, the 12th and 13th is a national holiday. which means there's no class, okay? 13th and 14th. It's also a bit of a watershed for Spanish schools because it means anything before the kind of 12th, 13th of October is kind of, the schools are still getting back into their stride, but we'd expect them to be fully functional before then. In a way, for us, that also means that people arriving in September actually have quite a lot of flexibility. So if somebody was meant to arrive in September and then it ended up coming right up until mid-October, the schools would be perfectly happy. Okay. You can also see there that we have the Christmas holidays in December, January, and then of course the Easter holidays, which come along at the end of March. As I said, in Valencia, the holidays would be the week before. In Castile, in the north, they will be the week after Easter. Okay. Right. And we've got different kinds of schools as well. Okay. So the different kinds of schools, oh, there we go. Different kinds of schools. We've got our nursery. Sometimes they're called infantil, primary school. So nursery schools up to the age of 6. Traditionally in Spain, children have not started school until the age of 3. But recently, funding has become available so that children will start at the age of 1 or 2. So more children go to nursery schools, which is better for their development. It means they're more socialized by the time they reach primary school. Some of you will be asked to teach nursery. One of the things you have to be careful about, obviously with children of 1, 2 years, we're talking about babies. If you're not comfortable changing, you know, or the fact that children do things like vomit, you know, and spill their milk and have to go to the bathroom, then, you know, these are outside the expectations of what you are meant to be doing as a volunteer. Okay. However, if you are at a school which has a nursery class and you enjoy this kind of childcare, you know, offer your services, all right? But you are in no way obliged, all right? Because there's a lot more kind of skills, sorry, a lot less kind of skills. It's more about fun and games and sort of playing, okay, up until the age of 6. Most of you will be at schools which offer primary education, so that's 6 to 11, and you'll be surprised that the classes are quite big, 25 to 30 children, but also that from a very early age, 7 or 8 children are expected to do 1 or 2 hours homework, and they are constantly being bombarded with exams and tests. The problem here is that it creates stress amongst children, and families are expecting their children to pass the tests and pass exams, okay? And that takes away, that subtracts from the experience of being at school when those things become really, really forced. And parents tend to support this. They want achievement, and they think achievement comes through passing exams and tests. Okay. 11 to 18 years is now our secondary school, or what they call instituto. Okay, so education is compulsory until the age of 16 years. So that's the 1st to 4th grade of what they call ESO. The ESO is secondary school. Okay, and then they can go into vocational training or university preparation. You are likely to have contact, if you are at a secondary school, with teachers who are doing their university preparation. Those students are going to be near your age, 16, 17, 18. You might form friendships. Okay, you might be able to talk about things which are kind of more interesting for people of your age. However, most schools will frown a little bit if your friendships go beyond the school times, okay? So you should not be going into any kind of meaningful relationships with anybody who is your student. Right. Obviously, I'm taking into account, I've asked you during our interview, I've asked you which age groups you'd rather work with. I'll take that into account. I've got a pretty good idea, and I'll be telling you individually about the schools I've got in mind for you. Okay. We've got three kinds of school as regards the management. We've got our public schools, which are state run. Okay, no religion, no faith-based affiliation at all, standardized teaching content, very few extracurricular activities. Where there are extracurricular activities, these are organized by the parents, the PTA, the Parents Association. So if you'll find that you are being offered a post in an area called Salamanca, which is in Castile y León, you will find that the Parents Association is very strongly involved in those schools, and we like that. The concertado are what we call charter schools, which tend to be faith-based. Okay, so there will be some religious imagery. They will celebrate Christmas and Easter. They might not celebrate Halloween because they feel it's too sinister. Okay, very few, but some of them don't celebrate Halloween. Those schools tend to have a wider outlook. They are funded by the government, but they are managed and run by, very often by religious organizations, but they are not limited to believers, right? Or people who practice a particular faith. They have to let everybody in. Okay, there's a little more discipline. They might have uniforms where public schools do not. State schools do not have uniforms. Okay, so some of the charter schools or concertados, they do have uniform, and they might ask you to wear a particular color. Would you wear this kind of polo shirt or tennis shirt or a sweatshirt with a particular color with a school name on it? Obviously, they will provide this to you. They tend to be somewhat more strict about what they expect from volunteers. And then we have the private centers. We only have 2 private centers. They're fee-paying schools. People pay a lot of money to go there. They may or may not be faith-based. They tend to be quite strict Catholic, okay? They have better facilities. They do have uniforms and more extracurricular activities. What you have to realize, though, is that these schools are offering their students and the parents and families elite education. People are paying money for their kids to go there. They think they're going to get on better in life. Okay, that's fine. Or because they're going to have their beliefs reinforced. And we've got here a few kind of examples. If you're going to Ontinyent, that's a charter school. So funded publicly. It's got a loose faith-based, more, I'd say it's a community-based school, okay? So it's an important school in the town, okay? And they favor academic excellence. Nice school, nice school. Tolosa, which is our Ikastola, which is the one I told you about, which is the Basque language and culture. Absolutely fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. But you must be prepared for an extreme. You must be prepared for this immersion into that particular culture. It's a once in a lifetime thing. Okay. They don't kind of they don't eat dogs or anything like that. Okay, I mean, they're absolutely great people. I mean, really, really friendly. They're Spanish, but they just prefer to keep their Basque language. And it's a very, very rich culture, I can tell you. Very fascinating. CRA, which is a community rural school, which means there are very few students, only 20 students at this school, and they use particular kind of methodology, which is called Montessori, which is based on playing. Children play, experiment. Children are allowed to decide how much time they want to spend doing a particular activity, and the teachers are on the side. They're guiding, they're facilitating things. Okay. San Francesco in Guadalajara. Those, I know you guys, Johnny and Oliver, right? Do I go in there? Yeah.
Me and Will.
No, Johnny and Will. I'm sorry. That's strange not to have an Oliver there. But anyway, so Johnny and Will are going down to San Francesco, which is where Kudzi was. Okay, it's faith-based, it's community. You'll find people speaking the Valencian language, which is fascinating. And it's a great school. Okay, but the teachers are very well connected and kind of part of the community, and the community is part of the school. All right. Cumbres, they describe themselves as a very conservative Catholic school. All right. I know some of you guys have been to very conservative Catholic schools too, and I think you would fit in very well. Okay, it's just outside Valencia, 1,200 students, very, very high expectations academically, and very high expectations of their volunteers. All right. Leliana, which is a lovely concertado charter school, 500 people, has a uniform, community-based. It's as far from Valencia as Cumbres, but a completely different atmosphere. Completely different atmosphere. It's a lovely school too. And then Ciudad de los Niños, that's the boys of children's town. Okay, it's a state primary school in Salamanca, where the Parent Teachers Association have a very, very strong presence. Okay, smaller school, lovely place, lovely place. Okay, so those are just a few examples of schools. When we're talking about language, there's two ways that the kids practice language, right? So one is the language itself in class, and the other one is what they call bilingual education. Bilingual education means that geography, sports, music, history might be taught in English, right? So you might find yourself in a school where you're giving classes in English, but they're not actually language classes. Interesting. It's very interesting. Okay. These are some of the ideas of things you can do at school. I'm going to share with you via WhatsApp 2 Dropbox folders where you can find resources. And we're going to speak very quickly about the sort of things. The first thing I want to do right now, I'm sorry about this, is to share with you. Okay. I'm going to share with you a video I've sent to you via WhatsApp. And this is one of our German volunteers. Her name is Neely. She's at one of the smallest schools in Spain, okay, which only has 20 students. And this is her giving a class. Let's just see. Tell me why it's good.
Und den Deutschen gefallen Autos sehr. Es gibt viele Autos und Autohersteller. In Deutschland essen wir auch gerne verschiedene Brotsorten. Es gibt verschiedene Städte, das zum Beispiel ist Berlin. Das ist die Hauptstadt von Deutschland. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Rot, blau, gelb, red and yellow. In Germany, we eat a lot of bread and sausages, and the Germans like their cars. There are a lot of companies that produce cars. Berlin is the capital of Germany. Maybe you know it. This is a picture from Berlin.
Okay, now the first thing I've got to tell you about Now, I'm not going to tell you about Nelly, but what was good about this? What was good about this? Any ideas? Any suggestions?
That she
It was
showed.
interactive.
Sorry, who was who was speaking that? I heard a female voice.
That was me.
Well, you speak then.
Okay. That she had like physical objects that she was showing.
Brilliant. And that is part of the Montessori method, showing things. Yep. So she had physical things. Brilliant. Yeah. Good. Good. So there's a word for that in teaching, which is called realia. Realia, which just means bringing real objects. Don't describe a bottle. Show them a bottle. Don't describe a kangaroo. Bring one in, even if it's a little kind of cuddly one. Okay. So yeah, that's good. Okay, something else. Who else was speaking there to tell me about the good things?
It was interactive.
Excellent. Yeah, it was interactive, wasn't it? So she was chatting on a little bit in German, which was nice. Some of the children might have recognized some words as she was speaking. Also, she spoke just long enough for the children to become accustomed to her accent. And then it was interactive. She said something, the children had to reply. And how did she do it? How did she do it? What was the best thing about that interaction? Anybody? Anybody?
She made lots of eye contact with each of them.
Well, absolutely. Wow. Yeah, you've got it. Eye contact. All right. Absolutely. She was eye contact. She was just like looking good. She was looking positive. Like, I want to be telling you these things. Okay. And she was getting reinforcement because the children were replying or repeating, but she gave them just enough time. She didn't rush them. She waited until they were ready to speak. And when they had finished speaking and she saw that they were ready for the next tiny piece of information, she gave it to them. Absolutely fantastic. Okay. Really impressive. Really impressive. Okay. Anything else? Did we notice anything else? Well, she used the book, okay, and she presented the book and she shared the book that way with them, right? Which I absolutely loved. There's no point in everybody having a book and you're reading and they're trying to follow you on a text page. So the idea and the usefulness of storybooks right up until the age of 8 or 9 is fantastic. It's fabulous. Okay. So at any point you're with those younger kids, use books with lots of illustrations, colors, and you can show them and you're pointing. Okay. Brilliant. Okay. So I've got to tell you something. This is Nelly's first week, right? This is one of the first days she's been in class. So we're really happy. And the other thing is, Nelly is extremely shy. She's much shyer than any of you, from what I can tell at the moment. So, she's not doing something. She's not being false. She's not doing something she isn't. What she's doing is relying on the idea she's transmitting to make things interesting. Okay. And the way that she's sharing things are very, very well defined. Okay. So I've sent you that. Okay. Now I'm going to propose something. We've been here an hour. Okay. And we do have many ideas to discuss, things to do at school. Okay. So what I would like to propose to you good people is to stop for today. And next week we will do part 2 of school and teaching ideas. Are you happy? Are you available on the 11th of October?
That sounds good.
Yep. If not, I'll make a recording of it. So let me stop